Welcome to From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Before I get started, as I always do every show, I want to make sure that I give honor to God who's ahead of my life. Without him, there would be no me. There would be no platform like this that I could do. I wouldn't be the father. I wouldn't be the husband that I am without him. So I want to thank God. And my special guest tonight is Mr. Dantiel Daniels. He's the assistant. My special guest tonight. He's the assistant. Dantiel Daniels. He's an assistant at Tulane University, and I just want to welcome you, Dantiel. How you doing, man? At Tulane University.
I'm doing good. I can't complain, man. I'm just sitting here on this great Sunday, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready to chop it up. I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Okay. It sounds like we have a little delay, Dantiel, but we're not going to worry about that, man. We're going to go ahead and get the show running and everything. It's a little small delay, so if you hear that, my studio, my producers are fixing that right now, and once we get that fixed, we'll bring Dantiel back. But today we're going to talk about topics such as NIL, past, present, and future. We're going to talk about mental health and suicide prevention because it is Suicide Prevention Month here last month in September, from September the 15th to October the 15th. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Mr. Dantiel Daniels' journey from St. Louis, his humble beginnings in St. Louis, Missouri. And then we're going to talk about where he is right now. He's an administrator with athletics at Tulane University, and those things and other things as far as faith. We're going to talk about all those things as we get started. But before there he is, Dantiel, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Dantiel, we're going to get right into it. We talked backstage about some of the things that we're going to talk about. And you were an outstanding player at the college level. You played at mid-major in the Missouri Valley at SIU Carbondale. 6'7", 6'8", did it all. You didn't have an opportunity for NIL like it is today. What do you think, really quickly, what do you think about NIL, past, present, and future?
I think it does a disservice to people like you and me who the NIL wasn't available to at the time. But I do think that I like NIL. I like where it is. I do think that for athletes now, for them to be able to monetize from the name, image, and likeness, I am a huge fan.
Okay. And then our next topic that we're going to talk about, which is very near and dear to the both of us, is mental health and suicide prevention, right? Mm-hmm. It is Suicide Prevention Month from September 15th to October 15th. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit, how does that impact you, suicide prevention and mental health?
Yeah, mental health right now, it is a hot topic. Unfortunately, it should have been a hot topic because with athletes and just life in general, a lot of these things, it starts up here. Wherever this goes, the body will follow. So I'm happy that mental health is a hot topic right now, and it is so important just for life and especially with athletics.
Okay. And then one of the final topics that we'll talk about between me and you, and we'll get to the faith piece that always comes, is Dantiel Daniels' journey, from St. Louis, STL, to New Orleans or N'Orleans, a little bit about that. And then we'll get into that later on in the show. Tell us just a little bit. Give us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so just my journey has been unorthodox. Obviously started with basketball, started at Southern Illinois, went to Colorado State, played great basketball, played overseas in Europe, South America, Asia. COVID hit, made me kind of reevaluate things and coaching path, and now assistant director of student athlete enhancement. So it's been a journey, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate that. And you're going to hear about more of those things on From the AD's View. Let's get it. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown, and you're watching from the AD's view. Let's bring back Mr. Dantiel Daniels on the show. And Dantiel, let's get into more of, the topics that we were talking about. Um, NIL, name, image, and likeness,
Yeah.
right? We have individuals, we have women in basketball down in Tulane that are millionaires because of it, right? But if you go back to the mid 1990s, late 1990s, Mr. Ed O'Bannon at UCLA, he sued the NCAA for that very reason, for name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
But he lost.
Mm-hmm.
He lost, right? And he paved the way for the athletes right now. What are your thoughts on that? We didn't have a chance, but what are you telling your student athletes now? You were a part of the men's basketball program before. You're doing you're mentoring right now, running student engagement at Tulane.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're talking to your students about with regards to NIL?
Well, specifically with NIL, I tell them it is a blessing. So never take it for granted. Just the ability to monetize from your own name, image, and likeness. But I tell them that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I tell them, don't get confused. Like when you see those top earners of, you see Bronny James and all of these high earners, they getting millions. That's the creme de la creme, the top 3%. But for my athletes here, they do have some impressive NIL deals. And I just tell them, you have to be smart with the money, because what good is having the money if you get it and you spend it on materialistic things, and now you're in the same position that you started in before you had the money. So we just had a financial literacy event earlier today to help our student athletes really understand what to do with the money, how to invest the money, how not to have the money burn a hole in your pocket. One, because you're young, you really don't understand those things. But my conversations with NIL is, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to score the most points, to score the most touchdowns. You just have to have a following of some sort and make yourself marketable, which makes it an even playing field for everyone.
And that's so true, Dantiel, and I'm glad you brought that up. The fact that you can have a student athlete who's a walk-on, right, that has a great following on social media platforms and has an opportunity to represent partners in the community, whether it be the automobile industry, it could be restaurant franchises, it could be local mom and pop stores and things like that, and everything. And you can speak to it. Everything is not always the cash, or as the young people say, the bag. It's not always that. Sometimes it could be product, right? They can give you product for 5 years or something like that. I mean, I know that I've seen and heard student athletes that get NIL deals, and it's strictly for food, right?
Right.
It could be a Taco Bell deal. You can have Taco Bell for a whole year for free, right? And they probably put a cap on it where you can come in, every time that you come in, they'll let you spend, $25 or $30. And that in itself, both you and I, broke college students, that in itself can help, because if I can go get me a quesadilla and some cinnamon twist and an Arctic Diet Coke or something like that, I'm winning, right? As a student, I'm winning because the money is not there, but if I can get that product, it's there as well. So you mentioned the seminar that you had with the student athletes today. Did the topic of investments and things like that come up? And if so, what was that conversation like?
Yeah, so he didn't too much hit on the NIL, but he did hit on like Roth IRAs, different things like Acorns account for the beginners as far as investors, but really breaking down How can I turn $1 into two? And I think where the disconnect is from our athletes and the finances is they just see, okay, I can get this NIL deal and I have the money, but now I just want to spend it. And kind of like what you were speaking to, it doesn't have to necessarily be the bag. It could be, I want to partner with this clothing brand, and this could plant a seed for something that could be even greater for something down the line. Or you can partner with I don't know, the Dunkin' Donuts company and figure something out with your NIL. So our show, our event earlier today was really based on the financial literacy for our student athletes, because a lot of them struggle. They don't really know like what investing is. They just think, well, I can save money. So we had to tell them the difference between saving and investing, and I think that's very important for them.
It is important because at this stage in an 18 to 22-year-old's life, they probably have had some mentoring and some tutelage from their parents, and we hope that is the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at an early age, getting jobs, paper routes, and cutting grass and things like that will help them understand the value of money and how to save money, for their future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be stressful, right? All
Yeah.
that can be stressful, and all that can lead into our next topic, that is mental health, right?
Yes.
Uh, and suicide prevention. It is Suicide Prevention Month, and that started September 15th,
Mm-hmm.
and it runs all the way through October 15th.
Yep.
I looked up prior to our show last evening, and I just looked up suicide prevention to see what came up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was astounding, the information that's out there about suicide prevention, because our young people, right, are dealing with this at a higher clip, right?
Mm-hmm.
More so than ever. Yesterday on game day on ESPN, they had a coach that is dealing with that. He lost his son,
Yeah.
21 years young. He lost his son because his son completed suicide. And as I was watching game day and watching that, the 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 anguish, that I could see it in his face, and I could see it, it radiated through television and things like that. Um, what types of things are you doing at Tulane right now, whether it be university, whether it be athletics? What types of things are you doing right now to discuss those mental health resources, or talking about how to get help for those who are in those dark thoughts about suicide? What's going on at Tulane right now?
Yeah, so for us, we have a subcommittee through our SAC program, which is a Student Athlete Advisory Committee. We have a subcommittee specifically for mental health, and we call it hashtag Powerful Minds, because we know the power of the mind and how important it is to really talk to people when things are good, when things are bad, and when things are indifferent. So one thing we have is when you first enter the academic space here, we have a big wall and we have a photographer, and we just ask you, how's your mood today? And we take a picture and we put it on there. And that is just to show that every day won't be your best day, but it's okay not to be okay. And when you understand that, and when you realize that every day won't be peaches and cream, but here are the resources that we have to help you deal with those things, and putting those resources out for our student athletes, it's crucial. We have 4 full-time professional mental health therapists at their disposal if they ever want to talk about anything. We have a sports psychologist to try to help our athletes really make sense of everything going on, because the truth of the matter is, being an athlete right now was very different when you and I were athletes. And so you have a bunch of different things. You have social media, TikTok, everything kind of pulling at your attention. So powerful minds with us here at Tulane, they do a wonderful job at, one, telling where our athletes, where the resources are, and two, just wrapping our arms around and surrounding them and loving them and let them know we support you whether you have a good game or bad game or whether you don't play at all.
And that is a critical point that you make, Dantiel, that you are providing the resources, but you are showing them how to get to the resources and hopefully helping them to understand that the use of the resources
Yes.
are fine, right? Because like you said, it is okay not to be okay. And as I was looking, thank you, Ms. Hollins. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support. As I look at this information, right, I went on the website and there's a 988 suicide crisis lifeline. And that message is simply hashtag be the one to. And it was things like, and I'm going to read this before we go to break. It was like, be the one to ask the question, right? Be the one to be there, right? Be the one to keep them safe, right? Be the one to help them connect, right? And then be the one to follow up, right? And it's so important. It's so important, and that's be the one to. That's a number one. I'm sorry, my producers. Be the number one to. That's the hashtag, and it is just so important. And Dantiel, I'm your big brother. I'm a little older than you. Probably old enough to be your pops and everything. And so when things were on us, we just kind of pushed them to the side, and we just deal, right? And our young people today, they have an exposure to so much more. Like you said, social media, thank you, my producers. So much more on them. And it's so imperative that individuals like you and me that are in leadership roles in athletics, that we reach out to these young people, our men and our women, and let them know that there are resources out there and that we want to be the one to help them. Right. Yes. So Dantiel, stay with me because we got a special segment coming up at the end because, we got to talk about that journey. Stay with me. I am Dr. Cedric Brown. You're watching From the AD's View, and we will be right back after this break.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What would we do without it?
From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
I'm Leon Thomas with the Leon Thomas Group. Podcast, virtual events, webinars, streaming shows, and so much more. We want to be your partner in all things virtual.
Welcome back to From the AD's View. I'm your host, Dr. Cedric Brown. Before we bring back our guest, I want to talk to everybody about the new book that I wrote. It is my dissertation. It's on how Black men overcome racial barriers and the status quo in NCAA institutions. A good friend of mine, Dr. Tim Felton, said to me, he said, said, you need to share this information, right? It's a research read. It's all about how individuals, persons of color, men, overcome either perceived barriers in the institutions and in the industry that we're working in, or real barriers. And it is um, I think it's an easy read. And I think that the information that is in there hopefully can help young people, men and women, right? It can help not only persons of color, but it might be able to help someone else as well. The QR code that you see on the screen, we will display that QR code for the rest of the show. If you click on that if you scan that QR code, it will take you directly to Amazon, and you can buy the book. The book is in hardback, it's in paperback, or you can get it in digital form as well. If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me on my website is cedricmbrown.org, or you can reach me on my new email address, which is from the 80s view at gmail.com. I'm always open to new ideas for the show. I'm always open for individuals that have a voice and something to say, whether it's in sports, education, entertainment, it's family related, or it's faith-based related. Please reach out to me in either one of those sources, and I will be glad to talk to you. Let's bring back Mr. Dantiel Daniels. I call him Double D. And let me tell you something about this young man. This young man is dynamic in that we met again through LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn is God's social media page. That's what I think it is. But we met through LinkedIn, and I had mentioned something on my page, and I think it was faith-based that I said something, and he reached back out to me. And then I met this young man the first time that my wife and I were leaving to come to my new job out west, and he came to our going away party. That was the first time I saw him, right? And then we had so many other things in common that I just felt like I had to pay it forward to this young man. And then when he told me about his journey, it was even more exciting, and I just had to keep him, in my circle. So, Dantiel, tell us a little bit about the journey, man. STL, St. Louis, and now you in New Orleans.
Now, yeah, for sure, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and that is a true story, by the way. I definitely pulled up, and thank you and your wonderful wife for having me. But my story is unorthodox. I grew up single parent home. My mom raised us. Pops wasn't around. Just had to figure it out. Had a learning disability. That was another obstacle I had to face, even growing up. So growing up in St. Louis, humble beginnings, it was rough, but what Tupac say, even though it was rough, we always had enough. And Mama made miracles every Thanksgiving, which she did. But growing up, it was tough, but I found basketball to be my safe haven. And it's kind of like you fall in love with something that you didn't know you liked. And as I progressed in the game of basketball and we moved out to Wentzville, I began to grow and I began to get better. And then from there, I just worked and earned a scholarship at Southern Illinois Carbondale. The Salukis played great basketball there, absolutely great basketball. And then I transferred to Colorado State. Now, this is before you get that waiver and you get the one
Right. Right.
out, and I had the red shirt.
Right. You got to sit out for a whole year.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I played great basketball there. I ended up playing overseas in Silo, Finland, played great there. Really was unsure about my future at that point. Came home, became a graduate assistant for a year, started the journey for my master's, which was very important. That was the very first time that I actually learned. And I say that not to be funny, but it was the very first time, I should clarify, it was the very first time I took learning serious. It was like the aha moment when the light bulb screws in. And I'm like, man, is this what learning is?
Right.
This learning stuff is pretty lit. It's kind of cool. Like, I actually like it. And so that's why my background is in education. And so from there, coach ended up resigning. So I went back overseas, played in China. It was great. Unfortunately, my time got cut short due to COVID. And for me, COVID was a blessing in disguise because it made me realize that my original plan of, well, I'm going to play basketball until my body or life tells me that it's time to stop. That was a terrible plan. Right. No backup. It was just all athletics. And so COVID really forced my hand in a sense of, okay, well, what are the other skills that you've acquired while being a student athlete, while being a professional athlete, while being an instructor, and all of these things. And so my journey has just been kind of up, down. And then from there, I ended up coaching JUCO. I believe we were in the same region. I coached at Lincoln Trail. That's where I became an adjunct professor.
I was at Lakeland College.
Them Lakers. LTC, man. Yeah. So after that, was the Dobo at the University of Tennessee Martin, then got promoted to a special assistant. And then from there, just kind of transitioned into this full time. So my journey it's been a journey.
And let me tell you something about how our lives have been similar, right? I left college and played overseas, right? I came back. I went into coaching, right? I was at the JUCO level in coaching, right? I'm at Lakeland College. You're at Lincoln Trail, right? And just so everybody knows, before Dantiel was there and I was at Lakeland College, we used to smack Lincoln Trail around, right? We'd come down there and smack the green and orange around. We'd probably beat the green off them several times, right? And even before that, I played at Southern Illinois University. I played football there, right? And I was there back in the day when in the late 1980s, SIU was in Playboy magazine as a top 10 school to party at in college, right? We had the boat regatta. We had, they shut down Main Street right there and had the big party down there, Main Street. You go down to Sticks and play pool at Sticks, or Hangar 9 down there at Hangar 9, and the Dairy Queen's right across the street. So, we have so many things in common, and I'm so I believe that God puts people in your life that either understand your life, right, because of the similarities, right, or they are someone that's going to add to and pour into your life. And I appreciate you sharing with me and the viewers that journey, Dantiel, because it's important. And what I take from what you just said was, even though you start out, in a rough beginning, if you have a support system like those mamas,
yes, sir,
right? You have a support system like the moms, and then the coaches and those other individuals, your professors, and those individuals that are going to pour into you. And our last topic before we close the show, that faith that you have, right, that can help you to get along, you're always going to be a better place. And before we get to that, I want to remind everyone that the QR code in the upper right-hand corner of the show is for my book, And you can get that book on Amazon.com. If you scan that QR code, you will be able to get that book. And those that do, I appreciate your support, and I appreciate the love in that. And if you have any questions about that, you can reach me at fromtheadsview at gmail.com, or you can reach me at cedricmbrown.org. What does faith mean to you, Dantiel?
Man, faith is everything. Like, I know throughout my journey that, you know, my God was with me the whole time, because there was this unwavering just certainty that everything would work out. All I had to do was grind. Just like you said, it wasn't about, you know, how like the start was rough, but, you know, with faith and my family, and just pure hard work, and just taking advantage of all my resources, my faith just stayed strong. And then everything ended up just working out, because I always just had a work ethic. I kept my faith. You know, I stayed true to who I was, no matter the situation. And I just always worked. I knew that, you know, you can't pray for something and then go sit on your butt and watch Netflix all day. That's not how it works. You know, if the prayers go up, you got to roll those sleeves up too, put that hard hat on, and you got to go to work. So my faith has been very strong, really, as of lately, as I've transitioned into this role. And I've just been very fortunate to be around student athletes, and just very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. And I'm just always thankful for the things that I have, and for basketball being a great foundation to build off of.
Well, that's very well said, Dantiel. And in the word, it does say that work without faith is dead, and faith without work is dead, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to put in the work to make sure that the blessings that are coming, that those blessings are appreciated, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
appreciation is the work that we
Yep.
put in. Until when people want to, they watch this on Wednesday when we replay it,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to get in contact with Mr. Dantiel Daniels?
Yeah, for sure. You can email me, ddaniels1 at tulane.edu, and then they can go ahead and follow me on Twitter, or, well, it's X as they call it,
X.
Debo_Daniels. And the Debo nickname is because of how I played. I was a bully, and that name just always stuck. So
On
at
the court.
Debo_Daniels.
He's a bully on the court.
On the court. That's
Yeah,
right. Let me clarify.
with 3 officials, you know, and he had 5 fouls. So we just make sure we clarify that he was a bully on the court.
On the court. That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Well, as always, little bro, and that's how we talk to each other when we speak on the phone almost weekly, little bro and big bro. I really appreciate you, man. You are a special young talent. You are going to be an athletic administrator that they put in 40 under 40, right? That you're going to be somebody that is a bright and shining star, and the student athletes at Tulane University are better off for having Mr. Dantiel Daniels in their corner. And so I appreciate you, bro, and I wish you nothing but the best, man.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. Same to you. Wish you nothing but the best. Appreciate you, big bro.
I appreciate you. Well, I thank you for being on the show, and I want to thank Mr. Dantiel Daniels for being here with us today on From the AD's View. As I close the show, I want to make sure that everyone understands how much I appreciate your support and your love. And without, like I said, without God, none of this would be possible. And as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, that the QR code is there again for the ordering of my book, How Black Men Overcome Racial Barriers in the Status Quo in NCAA Institutions. And you can reach me at cedricmbrown.org, or you can reach me on my new email at fromtheadsview@gmail.com. I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for viewing From the AD's View. If there's anything that I can do for you to make your day as special as the days that I have are, just please get in contact with me. And I thank everybody for watching. Good night and God bless.